TheAngryHoneyBadger.
Hey everybody, it is TheAngryHoneyBadger here, and it is time for another champion build video. Today we will be taking a look at Annie as a support. Now she's been in a handful of positions. We've seen her in middle lane, we've seen her as a support, but lately we see her a little bit more as a support, but mostly because she's super annoying to deal with and she brings some just really great features. So we're going to talk about Annie today. So starting things off, we are going to talk about her abilities. We'll get to runes. Actually, no, I lied. We'll do runes and masteries first. So runes, actually a handful of setups you can take. We're going to be taking hybrid penetration marks. Very helpful because you'll be standard attacking quite a bit in the lane to get some gold and to harass them. You'll be taking armor typically in your seals. You'll take magic resist or ability power in your glyphs. This is a personal preference. I usually probably take that magic resist, and then in your quintessences, we're going to be taking our ability power, and that's why I have 15 ability power right now. So that's what we're going to do early on. It gives us a little bit of damage, some good sustaining lane. It's very helpful. And then as for the masteries page, that is down below in the lower right-hand corner. You can check that out right now. It's right there. All right, cool. Let's move on to the abilities then and talk a little bit about Annie's kit, because it's pretty cool. So first we have her passive. This is her Pyromania. After you cast 4 spells, Annie's next offensive spell will stun its target for a duration of time. The duration changes every 5 levels. So you control the destiny of your stun and when it will be up. So you can either trick people with it or not, depending on if you can queue up, maybe your E ability and then use a Q to stun somebody. They won't really see that coming. Or if you have your stun available, you'll have that little white spinniness around you, and that's how you know it's up. And that is your passive. At level 1, we're going to put a point into our Incinerate. This is your W. And on the fountain, we're going to use this a couple times early to get ready to proc a stun instantly, so we have one available when we go to lane. At least that's what I like to do. But this is your Incinerate. It's going to deal out in a cone and deal magic damage in front of you. And that's really all there is to it. We're going to max this out second. At level 2, we put a point into our Q ability. This is your Disintegrate. It's very nice. This is what you're typically going to be stunning people with if you're only going to try to hit one target because it's got more range. It's also going to deal magic damage and is single target. But if this does deal the killing blow on a minion or anybody, its cooldown is reduced by half and the mana cost is refunded. And Annie can farm really well with this if she needs to, which is really good for a support in case your ADC isn't there and you want to pick up some CS. Or it's just really good if you're going to play her mid and you can CS constantly with the refund of killing something with it on that killing blow. Then at level 3, we put a point into the Molten Shield. That's your E ability. This is going to put a shield around you for 5 seconds, increasing your armor and magic resist. Additionally, enemies that deal damage to you are going to be taking magic damage because of that. And whenever you use auto or deals will be dealt when they auto, yes. And then I believe now with Tibbers, it'll speed them up. I do believe. And then at level 6, we put a point into Tibbers, which is of course your ultimate. It is your summon Tibbers. You're going to release your Tibbers. Typically, we try to team this up with a stun so they sit in that. When you release him, he's going to deal a bunch of magic damage, and he does AoE damage around them. Also, Tibbers can attack. He also gets more health as the game goes on, and armor, and magic resist, and attack damage. So he's really good at helping tank turrets and taking turrets, while also dealing damage in fights. Yeah, if you cast your Molten Shield while Tibbers is alive, you are going to gain 300 movement speed, decaying over less than a second really quickly. He's also going to gain those same bonuses too. We're going to get into a fight in the bot lane. Their jungler showed up, which is Zed, and our Lee Sin's gonna go in. We just hit 6. We're gonna flash in Tibbers, and we're actually gonna pick up a double kill real quick, and we ignited Vayne. I didn't even mean to get the double kill. I actually laughed really hard because of it, but you know what? That counts. We're gonna pick up the kill. We're gonna keep Lee Sin alive, and actually Ashe is going to see Vayne stick around, and she's going to go for a quick kill under turret with a flash, I believe, and maybe a volley and an auto. Yep, and she's going to pick up the kill. And she's not going to pick up turret aggro because Vayne was out of range of the turret. So if you are not being under your own turret, you're not going to pick up any aggro from the enemy's turret, which is kind of nice too. So we pick up 3 kills, we'll be able to pick up a turret, and we'll have a great start to this game. This game's a bit one-sided, but we played a really strong laning phase, zoning out Vayne, which is really helpful. Annie can create a lot of zoning areas and potential. And it's just going to help you have a really strong laning phase. And so that's what we went with. Now, for this first trip back, or let's start with those first items, we have built The coin. Coin is super overpowered right now with its recent buffs. I like it a lot. It's just a good item in general too, and I like the gold passively. I like the health passively is another big one. Very, very nice. We have upgraded it to the nomads, which is our next bit of it. We're going to keep it at that for a second. And then we've also picked up a Sightstone. We want to make sure we get that early. And then right after that, we bust out the boots of mobility so we can roam around, lay wards out everywhere. And boots of mobility running into a fight, when we're not taking any damage or have dealt any, we'll be able to run up quicker and put Tibbers down with a stun to then set up an engagement. So that's why we want Boots of Mobility. You can really run down anybody you like. We actually get into a bit of a fight here, but I noticed that their Lux is coming. Luckily, a good arrow from Ashe is going to slow them down, and we are going to be able to escape. So, which is helpful. Good job, Ashe. Very helpful. But that's what we're going to go with early for our first, I don't want to say 3 core items, because obviously Sightstone isn't finished, and our Nomads is not the final form of the item we're going to be building, but we'll get to that in a little bit, or partially before they end up just dying a million times. As the game, as I said, will be a little one-sided. We're going to go ahead and just pick up a dragon. Make sure you do that when you have control. We have good wards in their jungle too, so we can see them coming. If they're coming from that blue side, we wouldn't have any issues with that. We're going to go back to base now and pick up the beginning parts of the next item that we will be building. Now, Annie, like I said, is really good at engagements when she has Tibbers, and she has the stun available, and she has maybe a flash. Now, flash, stun, Tibbers, that's, you know, that's pretty big play that we see quite often, and it sets up really big team fights. Now, one thing you can do that can be helpful if you do not happen to have Flash up, and just as a good item in general, is we're going to be building a Righteous Glory, which is going to give us a bunch of health, which is great, and it's going to give us more mana, which is always good to have a bigger and deeper mana pool so we can keep casting abilities. But we're going to be able to activate that, and we'll get that speed up, which is great. And we can slow enemies nearby us, but that's even more speed with our Boots of Mobility to get into one of these fights and then to drop Tibbers. So it's all about that engagement of surprise attack on the enemy. So that's what we're going to be building next. Righteous Glory is a very cost-effective item too. It's actually pretty cheap for the amount of stats it gives you. It's a very powerful item. It's why it did see a small nerf after its initial release. So Righteous Glory on just about any champion you could probably think about building it on, it probably is not a terrible idea. We're going to go ahead and roam up. We can do so quickly with those Boots of Mobility, drop the stun, bear Tibbers, and stun those 2 up. Rengar will die, but he did pick up a kill, and Veigar is going to be picking up a triple kill, which is also good. And that arrow from Ashe, did that hit? I didn't even see, but it was a good attempt. It was a good thought from across the map. And she is going to be picking up maybe a tower for us. So, good fight. It's all about that stun. I mean, that's really the bread and butter of Annie's kit, is get that stun off. And make sure you use your damage, because she's got fairly short cooldown on her Q, and it does a significant amount of base damage. When you have maxed that out, it does 220, plus a little bit of scaling if you have any AP, which we do. So we get a little bit from it, which is nice. Just a little bit. Now we're going to get into a little bit of a fight with Lux. We can kind of zone her out. She can see that we have the stun, so we can kind of just, you know, be like, hey, you don't know if I have Tibbers. You don't know. So she's got to play that actually pretty safe. You can kind of scare people with those swirls around you, which is always good. So we've picked up the Catalyst, which is the first part of that Locket. We will be finishing off the Locket. Now the next few items, we'll talk about those. Obviously, we're going to be finishing off our Nomads into Talisman, which is going to give us another way to initiate. As you can see, we build a lot of items around initiating because that's what we do. In fact, we're going to bait the initiation here. Zed does want to solo the support, but he knows I have a stun. But as he hits his Q on to Rengar, I'm going to drop the bear on him, and he's going to come out and help, and I pick up another kill. So it's just all about Annie having the stun and dropping it. And it's going to do a lot of damage. And if you can follow it up with 2 of your abilities that deal damage, once again, Annie, one of the only supports, because she's a pseudo-support, that can deal a lot more damage than a handful of other supports because her kit's built around damage, not necessarily a lot of utility or saving people's lives, really. It's all about just killing people. So if you team that up with an ADC who does a lot of damage, you're going to just do a lot of damage with your teammates, and you'll be able to pick up a lot of kills. So that's what we're going to do. Zed's going to go hard, actually, to pick up a kill on Lee Sin. He is going to pick it up, but we will stun him right after that. Then another arrow goes by. And are we going to kill him? Somebody's going to kill him. It's good. We got him. He's dead. So, yeah. What else do you really say about Annie? It's really all about the stuns. Let's finish off those items, shall we? So Locket's going to be next. We'll finish that. Then we have the Talisman. We will finish off into the Ruby Sightstone eventually, and we have our Boots of Mobility. Those are 4 items. Now, your next 2 that you're typically going to want to pick up comes down to 3/4 main options. You have the support options, which is the Mikhail's Crucible and the Locket of the Iron Solari. Typically, you're going to always want to probably get the Locket eventually to help your team out. It's very helpful. And the Mikhail's Crucible is also incredibly helpful to save a teammate's life and get them out of any crowd control situations. Now, if you don't want to go with those, you just want to go more of the tanky side of Annie, but still helpful for the team, you would only go with the Locket of the Iron Solari, and you'd pick up a Frozen Heart to reduce the attack speed of the enemy team's players. Very helpful, tons of armor, even more mana. It can be a really good buy. Now, if you want to commit to your team and help them, depending on if your team is lacking any magic damage or any more ability power damage based champions on your team, let's say you have a Zed mid, a Riven top, and a jungler who also is 80 heavy along with an ADC, you have no magic damage sources, you're going to want to build some ability power. 2 choices come to mind off the top of my head that I would love to pick up, one being in Ludens Echo and the other one being a Deathcap. The Deathcap, I know as much as I don't have a lot of other AP coming in right away to scale up with the Deathcap's procs, a lot of people forget that Deathcap is 120 AP plus 30% increased on all of your AP. So 120, all right, doing math poorly here, 30% of 120 takes you to about 180-ish. So really, Deathcap's like 180 of ability power. So it's going to actually be pretty good and give you some good damage. We pick up a kill on the big dog in the top lane. This game is going to come to a close, as you can see. It was very one-sided, but I'm going to be honest, all of our lanes controlled themselves, and when you control your lanes like this, you can excel games very fast. They are going to surrender. Everything about the build is down below in the description. If you have any comments, leave them down below there as well, and I will see all of you